Sorry, it's just the way this is set up. Or actually, maybe I can set this up real quick. Let's see. If I have my Twitch app, that might actually let me see the chat as we go. Not sure how important this is, but yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. I can see the chat if you chat at me. All right. So our Audient multi-track recording. Let's just get into this here. All right. So multi-track recording in the Audient. So this is basically just like step by step how we're going to do this multi-track recording in the Audient. So step number one is you're going to decide which channel you want to use. Remember the channel you're going to use. In the studio, plug in your mic cable into the proper input on the mic patch bay. So you're going to need to know a couple things. You're going to need to know which control room you're going to and which channel number you want to go to. Okay. So step number 3 is set up the mic and then plug the mic in. Locate the channel you plug the mic into on the board. So number 5 is we're going back to the Audient board and you're going to locate the channel you plugged it into. So if I plugged into channel number 5 or whatever, in the room, I'm going to locate channel number 5 on the board, and you're going to push the MTR button. That stands for meter. Remember, that's meter. You're going to push that MTR button on that channel. This is going to flip our meters. So now our input path is going into the longer meter there. Next thing to ask yourself is phantom power. Do you need phantom power? If the microphone is a condenser mic, yes, you do need phantom power. So push that 48 volt button. If you do not need the phantom power button, then don't do anything. If it's a dynamic mic or a ribbon mic, don't touch it. Okay. Number 8, turn up the gain knob until you have a good signal. Now remember, for this to happen, whatever you're going to be recording has to be happening inside your studio. So if you are trying to record somebody singing, make sure they're singing. Make sure they start singing in that studio. So you turn up that gain knob until you get a good signal. Make sure it's not too little or too much. Too little is not going to be loud enough. There's going to be too much noise later. And too much gain, it's going to clip. So you don't want it to clip. You don't want it to be too quiet. You want it to be right in the nice sweet spot around maybe minus 12 dB or something like that. Again, this is totally dependent on what type of material you are recording at that time. Number 9, go to your short fader and push the mix button. Number 10, turn up the short fader to unity. Now, at this point, you should be hearing sound. If you're not hearing sound, turn that fader back down and then check out your master section. On your master section, remember, you've got the master fader up, you've got the cut button unpushed, so it's not lit, and you've got your monitor control room knob turned up to, I would put it about 9 o'clock. So it's not too loud, not too soft, just over there right at like 9 or 10 o'clock. Now, once you got all that stuff taken care of, turn up your short fader to unity, and then you should be hearing sound. If you are hearing sound, that's great, you can continue. If you're not hearing sound, stop right there and go back and troubleshoot because you've done something wrong in one of these early steps. So what you'd want to do is go back and you want to say, okay, am I seeing signal when the person's recording, playing trumpet or singing or whatever? Number 8 here, make sure you've got some signal right there. If you are seeing the level going up and down, then the next thing to check would really be that mix button there. That's what I see a lot of people making mistakes with, is that mix button. They forget to push the mix button. It's really important that you keep in mind that number 9 comes before number 10. So if you turn it up and you're not hearing anything, don't just push the mix button. Turn the level down, push the mix button, and then turn it back up again, okay? The reason why is because we don't want any sudden pops or clicks or stuff like that to come through the speakers. When you turn it up slowly, you can hear the level of the signal. And that's what you want to be doing. Okay, so everything is good. We're hearing the signal. Great. Now what you want to do is you want to disengage that short fader mix button. Push it again so it's up. Now we're not going to hear anything. So the object is we don't want to hear anything. We want to be having silence. You've still got something happening in the studio. They're still playing, they're still singing, they're still doing whatever. But now what you're going to do is you're going to go to Pro Tools and you're going to create the audio track. Make sure you name the audio tracks that you have created. The audio tracks audio tracks are most likely going to be mono. We always record microphones in mono. The number of tracks you create depends on how many mics you are recording. So if you're recording one microphone, you need one track. If you're recording 5 microphones, you need 5 tracks. Keep in mind, you're also going to be coming from 5 channels on the Audient. You're going to set up the input here. Now, remember that we haven't done anything with our routing matrix yet. We're going to leave the routing matrix for just a second from now. So set up the input, keep everything 1-to-1. Make sure you keep all the stuff 1-to-1. So if you're on channel 5 on the Audient, you're going to go to Pro Tools input number 5 in Pro Tools. And then also set the output. Keep everything 1-to-1 again. Set the output to go to Pro Tools output number 5 in Pro Tools, okay? So channel number 5 equals Pro Tools input and output number 5. Channel number 12, Pro Tools input and output number 12. All right, now we're gonna push that I button on Pro Tools, and that's gonna get the input monitor happening. We're not hearing anything yet, and the reason why we're not hearing anything yet is because we haven't done anything with the routing matrix. Now, I should say right now that the order of this doesn't really matter so much. You can do the routing matrix as soon as you finish doing step number 11. When you do step number 11, you can go ahead and do number 16 if you want. That order is not super important. If you want to interject that into step number 11, make number 12 be do the routing matrix, you can do that. That's how I do it. I just like to set it up because I like to always have my destination set first before I start sending stuff out. That's just me for how I like to teach things, because I think it's really important to understand where our destination is. So I'm setting up Pro Tools to say input number 5 is the destination. The other reason why I like to do this, especially if you're working with bigger sessions, for some reason you might already be using input number 5 on Pro Tools. I'm not exactly sure why you'd be doing that, but it could be a thing. So if you are already using input number 5 in Pro Tools, you want to make sure that you have it set up for input number 6 or 7 in Pro Tools, and that way you can adjust your routing matrix accordingly. So on the Audient, back on the Audient here, number 16, the routing matrix, push the button of the input you set up in Pro Tools. It should be the same channel you're on. Remember, 1-to-1, routing matrix number 5. So we're coming into input number 5 on the back of the board. That goes to channel number 5 on the Audient. We go to routing matrix number 5, goes to input number 5 in Pro Tools. Output number 5 in Pro Tools comes back in again to channel number 5 on the Audient. Okay, so if we look at Pro Tools at this point, we should be seeing signal on the channel's meter. Yes, we're seeing signal. Great, continue. No, go back, troubleshoot. Probably go back to step number 12. That's where all the problems are going to be happening, and you can go back through all that again. All right, then we've got our, now we've got signal. We're still not hearing anything, okay? We're just looking at signals bouncing around. Now we're going to push the long fader mix button. The long fader is what we're going to be listening to. So we push the mix button, and we turn up the long fader. You don't need to turn it up to unity. The long fader does not need to be at 0 unity right there. We just needed to get it so it sounds good within the mix. Probably if you turn it up to unity, you're going to get clipping on your master fader output, and you don't want that at all. So turn it up to probably -10, -5, something like that. And at this point, we should be hearing sound. This is on the monitor path. Okay, we push that mix button. It sends the monitor path to our master fader, and our left-right mix bus, I should say, and then we turn it up, and we should be hearing sound. At this point is when you record arm the track in Pro Tools. As long as everything's good, you say to the person, okay, you ready to record? They say yes, and you record them, and you're good to go. On the numeric keypad, remember, in Pro Tools, you can hit 3. If you're using your laptop, you're not going to hit 3. You can hit Command Space or F12. In the studio at SAE, the Audient Studio, we do have a numeric keypad, so you would hit the number 3 there. All right, so now what we're going to do is, let's go back over here real quick. We got Ashton here, and we've got David. All right. Boom. Okay. So now we're in here. Let's do this step by step one more time. We're going to do the same thing we just did, but now we're going to have pictures. Yay, pictures. Okay. So step number 1 is decide which channel you want to use. Number 5, we're going to plug in a number 5. This is what our mic panel looks like. It's not exactly like this in the rooms at SAE, but it's close enough. So number, wait, where's number? What happened to number 2? Step number 1. Oh, I see. Okay, so step number 1, and we're skipping some steps because that's just like some stuff. There's no pictures for that. Sorry. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Okay, so then we get to step number 6. We set up the microphone and everything. We get to number 6 on the Audient. You're going to push that MTR button, which stands for meter in this case, not multi-track recorder. Push that button on the channel, and it's going to flip the long meter from with the short feeder meter. Number 7, do we need phantom power? Yes, push it in. No, don't push it in. Number 8, this is step number 8. Turn up the gain knob until you have a good signal. So you're going to turn up that knob. Sometimes you need to turn up that knob a lot. I've been in situations where students don't turn up. They think like, I shouldn't turn it up to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Yes, sometimes you need to. We have some microphones that are very quiet microphones, and you need to send a lot of gain to them. So step number 9, push that short fader mix button. Number 9, you're going to push that short fader mix button. And then number 10, you're going to turn up the short fader to unity. You should be hearing the signal. Great, you're hearing the signal. Push number 11 to disengage the short fader mix button. Number 13 on Pro Tools, set the input on Pro Tools. Now remember, once again, if you wanted to, you could go to the routing matrix and do the routing matrix now, which would be number 5. Push number 5 and send it over to Pro Tools if you want to. But you could just go over to Pro Tools first, set the input, set the output. So the input's going to say input number 5, the output would say output number 5, and press that I button, input monitor button, and you can also record on the track at this point if you wanted to. You can wait to do that later. The routing matrix, if you haven't done this yet, push number 5 because we're on channel number 5. Everything is going to be number 5, number 5, number 5. This is called 1-to-1. 1-to-1 means you go into the same channel, you go out of the same channel, you come back into the same channel, all that stuff there. Now, we want to hear the signal. Remember, because we unpushed the mix button on the short fader, we're not hearing that signal anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to number 18 here. Step 18, push the long fader mix button, push that button in, and then 19, turn it up so we can hear it. You're not going to probably turn it up to 0 or unity. You're going to probably turn it up less than that because you don't want to be clipping your main output. And that's it. That's all the steps for just getting a good, quick recording. Now, this is not exactly the same as our level setting procedure, but it is related to the level setting procedure. It has some similarities in there. But yeah, that's what we've got going on there. Again, these notes are in Canvas. This is actually tomorrow's class that I just wanted to go over with you today because it's a good amount of stuff for you to do today. That we can, if we were at SAE, what we would do now is we'd go in and we'd practice this, but we are not, so we cannot. All right, let me stop recording.